Hi, and welcome to Tremco Live, where we're socially distant but technically connected. I am Marcy Tyler, the Director of Building Science for Tremco Commercial Sealants and Waterproofing. We're really excited to be able to engage with you each and every Friday, bringing to you relevant content in the construction industry. I am joined technically or virtually by my co-host today.
I am Paul Hugenville, the president of Tremco Construction Products Group. Usually Marcy and I are actually in the same room, socially distanced, but today we're miles apart. Same city, miles apart.
We are
So,
same city, miles apart.
and of
Exactly.
course, Tremco, Marcy, right, is a great collection of brands and companies and, most importantly, people all over the world.
Yes, lots of people, and we're excited to be able to speak to all of you and our customers every Friday. So Paul, happy Friday the 13th.
I did not put the two of those together until you just told me. So I went to a university where we celebrated the number 13, and I seem to have done okay with that for the last 40 some years.
Good. That's good. Very good. I was doing a live presentation today with CE Strong, and the person in charge of that, her name's Dion Darling. And I said it's Friday the 13th, and she's like, well, we better not have any technical glitches because of this. And about 5 minutes into my presentation, she forgot to mute her phone. And she had a conversation while I was presenting, and it was quite funny. So she kind of blamed me for jinxing it. So it was pretty funny. So Paul, it's Friday the 13th. We're going to celebrate Friday the 13th in a different way, even though I do like scary movies, because it is also considered World Kindness Day. So November 13th, World Kindness Day.
I would argue we could use a kindness week or month these days.
Yes, I think so. I think so for sure. I was doing a little research on kindness. Of course, there's many ways that we can be kind. And there was a lot of articles about how you can do that. And they talk about starting with yourself, right? So start with yourself. And it says, get more sleep, get up and get moving. And then it says, drink more water. Drink more water.
So chocolate's nowhere in this. I mean, I'm confused.
Well, I think you can define kindness to yourself however you would like. Yeah. But it talked about volunteering. It talked about hosting a family dance party, phoning a relative, supporting a local charity, or supporting a local restaurant tonight by ordering takeout. And of course, most importantly, it talks about social distancing, about wearing your mask. And if you're asked to quarantine, you need to do that.
Yeah.
So. And most importantly, in the month of November, it's all about giving thanks. And that was another key thing about kindness. It's about communicating your gratitude. And it could be for whatever it may be, but imagine how that might improve somebody's day by communicating that gratitude. So I'm going to start with you, Paul. Paul, thank you for participating with Tremco Live with me practically each and every Friday. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Marcy. I'm just always grateful that every week I'm invited back.
Yes. Definitely. We'll keep you on here for at least a couple more weeks.
Don't give me
absolutely.
Any security.
We appreciate it.
Don't give me any security, Marcy. 1 week at a time.
No. Well, the other thing we wanted to do and have been doing in the month of November is talk about healthcare. So giving thanks to our healthcare workers. We are going to start to continue to focus on healthcare projects. So last week we had Pat Garrity and Nick Markley from Flynn, Pat obviously from Tremco, and Nick from Flynn talking about the Cerner health systems projects that we have with them. And this week we do have a guest as well. And we're talking about a couple projects here in the beginning. So as always, I'm going to share a few slides for us to have some dialogue here. And a couple of them here. So here we have the Arkansas Children's Hospital. So this is a project that we worked on several years ago with a variety of different individuals. My goodness, Pat Garrity worked on this one too. Ironically enough, right? Pat's been on a bunch of our Tremco Lives and he participated in this project as well. But we do have a design professional that's going to join us in a few weeks, Paul, because in here he was so excited about this system because he was able to save 4 months on his construction schedule. And he wants to come on the show and talk to you about how he saved those 4 months, as well as how he saved that project a significant amount of money. So
yeah,
we'll be very excited.
4 months, Marcy, that is an amazing amount of time in a construction schedule. So I'm going to really look forward to hearing that story.
Yeah, so it's, I won't steal his thunder, but he'll come on and he'll tell us all about that. We've got him coming on in a few weeks. And then this is another case study that we're featuring actually next Thursday. We have one of our virtual tours at our test facility where we go through and talk about the testing capabilities we have at that facility. And then we're going to feature this project, Kettering Health. And this one is a great case study that is not too far from us. This is down near Dayton, Ohio. So we'll feature this one as well. Now, Paul, you know the Securic X-Ware 430 system pretty well. You know what we did in terms of developing that and innovating that and working on that collaboratively with USG. Part of that and part of all that we do at Tremco is about performance testing. And that's why I have this next slide here. When we think about all of our systems, and especially, you know, something like an air barrier and a facade and all the connectivity associated with it, what we're really talking about is protecting the inner structure. And I'm pretty sure I'm a broken record to you talking about testing and protecting that inner structure. And I just made this recent continuing education course that's all about that. And I feature some of these jackets here because it's about the different elements that we want to protect our inner structure from. Yeah, wind, water.
I think, Marcy, a jacket is a fantastic metaphor in that it's so simple for us to put on, but if we ever saw how complicated it was to construct and to make sure that it was actually weather tight, right? I think that's it's a great metaphor for us. We try to make it simple for everybody putting the building up to take all that complexity out and let us handle it.
Exactly. Yeah, we want it to be as simple as putting it on, and we can handle all the rest. So part of this presentation is about showing everybody all the testing that's done beforehand. And so I want to go through and just briefly talk about that with this particular system as we lead up to our guest who's going to tell us about a project he's working on currently with the Securic X-Ware 430 system. So our first jacket is our wind breaker, or our jacket that's protecting us from air. You can see here a few pictures of what we did from this is just a few of the assemblies that we did over at our test facility to look at air performance of that entire assembly. We've got different types of anchors there.
I was going to say, make sure you mentioned the one, I guess it's to my right. I'm not sure what it looks like where you're sitting, but that one that speaks to the seismic movement. I always like when we tell that story in person. Maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, that one's a great one because it's a larger assembly, and the whole design team, the whole project team got together to figure out exactly what we needed to do there from a risk factor. So what we're looking at is the upper panel and the lower panel on the right is fixed, and the two middle ones were able to move freely. It was designed so it could be tested for 1.5 inches of differential movement. So we've got the Securic X-Ware 430 pre-applied air barrier. We've got our Dimonic 100. We've got our Spectrum 1, which is kind of peeking at you from behind the Spectrum Simple Seal there. The black is Spectrum Simple Seal. The purple is Spectrum 1. And we were able to successfully pass not only for air, but also for water utilizing this system. So that was pretty incredible. It was very helpful for that design team to be able to see that performance. And I think, Paul, how the story goes on that one, they weren't going to use our product. And Dante, Marion Petrie, along with Rich Block and several others, spoke with those customers and said, what's your concern? And their concern was seismic performance. And so we were able to say, tell us what your concern is. Let's design an assembly together, and then let's test it. And obviously we did air, but we also tested it for water as well. So I wanted to click into that next screen to talk about water. Now, these are different assemblies than the one I showed you or in the previous slide, but this is just something we like to do as well on a regular basis. So I know, Paul, when we would bring people through, we'd have these assemblies that we had tested in the past or that were currently in queue. And I mean, people really love being able to see all of these. We're trying to bring them to everybody visually as much as possible so they can take a look at what we've done.
Yeah, the image to the right on the screen is all different ways you could potentially anchor. And you always, I know you do a little trivia test sometimes to see what people think about which ones worked, which ones didn't, and which one was the best.
Exactly. And I like to be able to do that when we're face to face. So you know what, Paul, that's a great suggestion. Let's poll our audience right now. Which anchor do you guys think performed? So what we have here is 3 different ways that the design team wanted to detail. So anchor 1, through the Securac XWare 430 with some Dimonic 100 over the top. Anchor 2, we put Securac XWare 430, our pre-applied air barrier with XWare 110 AT behind our anchoring system. And then this last one here, we had Securac XWare 430 with Dimonic 100 on the fasteners here. Now, what we tested here was water. So it's ASTM E331. We put basically a plane of water on the surface and we pull a negative pressure to try to pull that water through any area so we can identify those potential risks. So everybody, if you are able to, get those polling questions going. So do you feel like anchor detail number 1 passed, anchor detail number 2, anchor detail number 3? Maybe you think all 3 passed, or maybe you think none of them passed. So what we did is test it to ASTM E331. And Dante, Marion Petrie, if you are watching, you better get this one right. So Paul, what do you think?
Oh my gosh. I'm going I'm going to go with number 3, Marcy.
Number 3, okay. Okay, we've got quite a few votes in so far. I guess we'll, at least want to go ahead and we'll stop the polling to save time here and share the results. Okay, so you can see the spread of answers here across the board. The majority guessed anchor detail number 2. Now, what I think is pretty interesting is that's what typically people want to do. They want to put a peel and stick behind a facade anchor in order to get it to pass. They like the idea of having some sort of peel and stick behind it. Some people like to put some sealant over the top, and then of course some people like to put sealant over the fastener. Now, this is somewhat of a trick question, because we tested it according to ASTM E331, which is water penetration testing, pulling negative pressure on it, trying to pull water through. And the results according to code means we have to test for 2 hours at 300 pascals for 6.24 PSF, and they all pass. They all pass, but we don't just stay there, right? We go all the way up and we continue to increase the pressure differential. We continue to try to see where we might have a potential issue. But in the end, the design team liked detailing number 1. So they went with number 1. So number 2, they felt like that peel and stick over time, maybe, you know, as that paint plane of drainage, water might gather at the top of the peel and stick and start to peel away at it, because we do like to put sealant at the top leading edge of the peel and stick. And then the last one, sealant on the fastener head, they felt like in this drainage plane situation, maybe that wasn't needed or necessary because we had the Securac XWare 430 behind it. So having a great membrane as the starting point is key in performance, right? So we've got that with the Securac XWare 430, but then a belt and suspenders perspective, they decided to put sealant on the top leading edge. So thank you everybody for participating in that poll. So Paul, we talked about air, we talked about water. Obviously, we're really excited about our thermal chamber, and we haven't even really featured it on a show, so we will do that for sure coming up soon. These are still pictures from Oak Ridge's, Oak Ridge Department of Energy's, their equipment. So we're really looking forward to be able to demonstrate the capabilities of this. From a thermal perspective, when you look at something like Securac XWare 430, we've done a lot of analysis in terms of hydrothermal analysis. So we can help people in terms of their different climates and essentially, Securic X-Work 430 can be used in every climate, in many different types of wall assemblies, and that's what we can provide. But now that we have our thermal chamber, we can take it one step further and really start to demonstrate the impact of insulation and where it's placed, the impact of different types of facade anchors. And I just met with John Powers yesterday and Chuck Bundrick, and we're talking about doing a variety of assemblies with EIFS, so with our drive-it systems, and then of course with our lightweight insulated veneer, new brick, and then comparing it to clay brick, so that way we can have some more data on thermal. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it, Paul?
Yeah, we've been, I think this chamber was first mentioned to me probably 4 years ago. So it's been an idea long in the making. And of course, it's been a couple of years in execution. And is it live? Is it live like any day now, Marcy? When do we go live? I know most everything's been in and installed. Big holes cut in our walls, everything.
Yeah, it's in, it's installed, it's doing all of its factory acceptance tests, or I guess it wasn't at the factory, but it's doing all of the tests that we need to calibrate it currently. So we will definitely have some new information and testing coming out of there very soon. So look for that in the new year for sure. As we continue through that jacket of protection, we want to talk about fire, of course, as well. Now, we don't do fire testing here at in Cleveland, but we do use a variety of different partners in order to do our fire testing. But we did all of that for the Securic X-Work 430 system with so many different types of facades, so many different types of conditions. So we definitely got that part of our jacket of protection. And then next, of course, is resilience. And how resilient is it? We've done so many different tests, Paul, in order to understand compatibility, adhesion. What if the board is damaged? How do we repair it? And what about the transitions? What about window placement? What about different types of window? What about window detailing? And all of those things we were able to do at our test facility to really give us confidence, no matter what situation we are going to come across, that we could feel very confident and well supported when we got in front of our customer. And of course, Paul, now with our ability to put drive-it on it, this whole holistic system, starting with the Securic X-Work 430, utilizing Dimonic 100, and then going through our whole drive-it outsolation system, really helps us really, all the way through that system, have every piece and part making up that assembly, which makes it pretty cool.
Yeah, I often hear this from you, so it's worth mentioning. I'm surprised you didn't mention it. You always talk about compatibility, Marcy. So there's a lot of compatibility going on in that assembly.
Yes, absolutely. Great point. So that is a key part of any conversation we have with anybody, anyone related to a project or working on a project, is adhesion and compatibility are so key. And that gives us that ability to get those answers to those questions and understanding those risk factors before it even comes to the job site. We are so excited about having this combination, and because of it, it allowed us to have a project that we've been working on recently with our guests. So at this point, we would love to be able to have Adam join us on the Tremco Live. I just blanked on how to say your last.
Ulitsa.
Sorry about that. I just blanked on how to pronounce it. I was like, oh my gosh.
That's okay.
Gosh. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to turn our slides off for a second here so we can have a nice conversation with you. Thank you for joining us. I know you are en route from a project, so active on the road there. You are not currently flying a helicopter or an airplane.
Or driving.
Or driving. Exactly. So welcome to Tremco Live. Adam, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role with Intertek?
Okay. Yeah, I'm part of the Intertek Building Science Group, and I am the regional manager. I cover Pittsburgh, central Pennsylvania, down into Baltimore and Washington, D.C. So I have projects all throughout those areas. We do a lot of building enclosure commissioning. So we do work for the owner, but we have recently really started to do a lot of work for general contractors. It seems to be a growing part of our business. So just helping coordinate the enclosure trades and working with details and things like that. And also we do a lot of whole building air tightness testing. So for large commercial buildings, at least my group in the Mid-Atlantic. But my group is part of a larger building science group. We are nationwide. I think we're close to 180 people now. So all of our building scientists are spread across the country. But yeah, we're involved with new construction, existing construction as well, and really just growing quick. So yeah, and this project that we had in Allentown, I had talked to some folks with your group, and it just seemed like a really good. I had worked with the Exo Air 430 system before, but this was another good opportunity on these two hospital projects to get it going. So glad we did.
And I think I heard a rumor that the conversation started at building science summer camp, or do we not want to let people know how nerdy we are that we actually go to a summer camp all geared towards building science?
That is correct. I was talking about the Drive It system and JW. We were just, chit-chatting all about building enclosures and building science, as everybody does up there. And that's when I first found out that Drive It you guys had purchased Drive It. So it was I was like, oh man, that's a pretty cool. Didn't see that coming, and it really. We were having a lot of projects where the Drive It was on there, and we had another, all these other assemblies as well. They tends to be that way. It's like you have a veneer stone or a metal panel assembly in the same project. You have the Drive It system. So there was always this crossover. Do we use the backstop NT everywhere, or is it another air barrier? Then if you have another air barrier, do you have to transition to the two? And so this was just another system that could be used throughout the building. And I had my experience with this system on another project. I really liked it. So it was just a sort of a natural move to see if we could get that on these two other projects. But
so perfect. So shout out to JW Mullahan and Paul. Maybe we'll get you to come with us to summer camp one of these years.
I can't wait.
I think you would enjoy it. It's honestly one of those things that if for whatever reason Tremco's like, yeah, you can't go this year, I would go anyway, because I really do enjoy going to summer camp. And you know what, Adam, you were excited when you heard, that we were coming together with Drive It, and I still remember when I heard that was going to happen. I was so excited about it too. It just was a natural fit for us. I'm sure Paul agrees as well that was a natural fit for us to all come together.
I've thought that for a long time. I was very happy when that decision got made.
So it was really something we're looking forward to. So I do have a few pictures. I'll put some of those pictures up here so we can chat about those from this project that we were able to be on. So I was excited. Haven't been on the road in a long time, so I actually did make it out for this one. So obviously we are limiting on where we're going, but this was something that Adam and I had talked about for a while, and I wanted to be a part of it. So here's some great pictures. I joked with your colleague here in this picture. He was measuring the distance from this fan to the wall, and we were kidding him if his measuring tape was calibrated. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what this test is here that we ended up doing here?
Yes. So this is Alma 501.1 dynamic water penetration testing. It's similar to, so you had shown ASTM 330 E331 earlier, which is, yep. So the field version of that would be ASTM E1105, which is a static chamber where you would create a vacuum behind the glazing system or wall system, and then introduce water spray on the outside, and the vacuum creates the pressure difference that's simulating a wind-driven rain. instead of doing that, there's an alternate test method, Alma 501.1, where we actually recreate the wind-driven rain with a propeller, and then have the spray rack in front of it. And I tend to favor this test over the static test. I think it's well, for one, you can test a lot more square footage on the building in a day. I mean, we can do,
Right.
I've done up to 20 10-foot by 10-foot areas in a day, which is, you just can't cover that ground or that square footage with chamber testing. I mean, to do that,
Well,
same amount of square footage.
Longer setup, right? There's longer setup, yeah.
Yeah, you're building chambers on the inside out of wood and plastic, and you know, to do 20 openings, I mean, you're talking a full week probably, you know, if they're all odd sizes. You know, this allows us to test wall sections, like a transition to a canopy, or you just can't build a chamber to do that. And
right.
for consultants and or anybody who's really concerned about the performance of the enclosure, this really, I think it's a more comprehensive test, or allows you to test other conditions besides window openings that we're also concerned about. But
right, yeah, because I think in the next slide I show the areas that we did. So we did this window here in the center, and then we moved over to do the wall as well. So we were able to witness 2 different areas. And Paul, don't worry, the way our chamber is set up, we don't need this fan because we have that chamber. So we won't be asking you for the propeller.
I mean, that looks like an aircraft motor, and I kind of was starting to think I'd like to have one of those, Marcy.
It is very, very cool to be a part of, to witness this. So I want to thank Intertek, obviously, for allowing us to come out and chat with them on that. And I know there's more things we're going to do together. We did just get a request in for, you mentioned whole building air tightness testing. And if we could be a part of that with you one day, we would love to be able to film that, share that via Tremco Live at some point. So just to kind of keep that in the back of your mind.
yeah, I'll have to, so sometimes when we'll do the whole building air test on projects that we don't consult on, but I can try to dig into what the air barrier or waterproofing system on some of these other projects that we're just doing the testing on, to see if it is a Tremco product. Because I don't know of any buildings right now that unless you just want to watch one in general. I mean, that's
well, we could watch one in general, or maybe I've got a couple ideas of what we could do potentially as well with some of the restoration projects we've been on. So
okay,
I'll follow up with you on that, but it's definitely something interesting for sure. Any other comments here? I know we were able to find the picture down here in the bottom. There was some damage in the board, because I think you mentioned to me while I was there that you've done a significant amount of your own testing with our Securic Expert 430 system, so you're feeling very confident with it. We feel very confident just because of all the testing we've done in the past. So a lot of times showing up on a job site, you know, we all get a little nervous, but
yeah,
I think because we have so much testing, you know, that we've done behind us, we feel pretty good. But we did find this one spot that the board was damaged. There was actually a hole there. So
yeah, it's usually when we find issues, it's usually because of a deficiency in the installation, or you know, the damage like we're seeing in the lower left corner. But yeah, I wasn't too worried about that. We had on this particular job, the veneer stone system, we had trouble on the previous job because it was blind fasteners through that was holding the lath on through the insulation into the air barrier, and some of the fasteners were leaking. So on this particular job, we switched to a Z-girt. So the Z-girt could have its own fasteners that were sealed, insulation installed, and then the lath that was supporting the veneer stone could be done later and not have to penetrate the air barrier. And I think we had a couple that spots where they had leaked, but it was because I think the fasteners were just missing. So that wasn't anything to do with, again, it's not a system error, it's an installation issue. So it was good to see that. Just buttons up the quality control on site a little bit. But yeah, I mean, in this center picture, I mean, this is another reason why we like this test. We had the parapet transition, we had water coming in there. So just to sort of focus in on that type of testing, we were able to test, like we weren't even in the 10 foot by 10 foot section. We were touching an area that was, 10, 15 feet away, and we found an issue.
Right.
So it had to happen before.
Right.
But the other thing I wanted to mention is, when I'm looking at a design, one is, of course, the function of it, air, water tightness, thermal control, all that. But the other part that I really focus in on is drying the building in as quick as possible. And this system, is one of those that not only, conceptually in the drawings, it can happen, but in the field, it happens quickly. Just not dealing with applying membranes to the field of the sheathing. Don't get me wrong, there's installers out there that can do it really, really well, but they have to contend with other trades that are, throwing fire safing all over the side or dirt and different things. This system doesn't have to contend with that as much. And that's one of the big, if you get your interfaces designed properly and you get this system up, you can get the building dried in pretty dang quick. And that's huge. The more moisture you can control on the construction site, the better. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got such incredible installers that we'll do like a challenge, okay, I'll say, okay, put up 50 mils, and it's amazing. They can put up 50 mils, like it's amazing. But you're right that the other risk factors that are there are eliminated when you have something pre-applied like this. Paul, I hope I'm not going to steal your thunder. Paul always talks about mock-ups and how often they fail. Right, Paul? So we usually have a number to that.
Well, I think I've learned from you. It's very high. The first pass failure is almost 100%, right? And I think I've also learned from you that it's almost always sequence of installation and kind of getting that ironed out in sort of an iterative process. And that's typically with the crews coming in that are going to do the actual work. So, and then we always like to share that we will always provide a 3D animation for the final sequence of installation that we agreed to as sort of a best practice. So I hope, did I get that right, Marcy? I can't look at your eyes from here.
Yes. Yes. So I know on this project, we did a mock-up off-site, right on site prior to installation. And then you've done some testing, but has that been your experience too, that a lot of these mock-ups fail, and it's okay if they do because you're learning from them?
Yeah, that's what I always tell the contractors. Like they all get excited. They want to pass it the first time. It's just, you don't have to pass it the first time. It's fine. That's why we're doing it, is to find out what issues there are and then not repeat them on the job. It's not if you did it perfect, then it's almost bad to do it perfect, because then you're not finding out what potential issues you have on the project. So yeah, I've had to have a lot of those conversations where I tell them just let it be, and if it fails, it's not the end of the world. It's actually a good thing. So yeah,
we want it to fail then so we can fix it, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Adam, for being able to be a part of our event here today. I know we're looking forward to doing some additional work with you on field testing. I've got a lot of questions, and I know we're going to work on a Build Meets World blog with you about field testing. And I took a lot of footage when I was out there in Allentown. And so Dante and I are doing a new thing called Building Science Breakdown. So we hope to have you be a contributor in that as well. So more to come on all of that. So
very cool.
Thank you for joining us today. Very excited to have you. And
Absolutely.
We'll be in touch soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Ed.
It was fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Yep.
So Paul, up next week, we've got a variety of projects we're going to talk about as well. And we're pretty excited that we're going to continue with our healthcare theme in the month of November. And I know, just for everyone who's watching, you might be realizing that Friday after Thanksgiving is a holiday, so Paul and I have a special recorded program that we're going to be working on for everybody. So.
As long as I don't have to cook a turkey, Marcy. That's we can do that.
Well, that would be interesting. Maybe we could cook a turkey in the thermal chamber. That might be interesting. An interesting spin on the use of that equipment. So
I thought about that. I think that's actually possible.
So anyway, I will be back to see you and be back in the office next Friday. So thank you to Elise. Elise is there helping out with the production today in my absence. Thanks again to Adam for joining us and Intertek. We're very excited about being able to work with them on projects in the future and each and every day. So with that, Paul, we're going to thank everybody for joining us.
We'll see you next week. Be safe.
Yes, be safe. Thanks, everybody.